Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining. Today, we're going to meet an entrepreneur and discuss his, I suppose, his project from a project management point of view. And this is a follow-up to our last discussion where we had with Mikhail, and he was actually talking about a whole new process, a project management process to follow when actually doing a startup. So this is a very good next step, let's say, to take. So I would like to introduce Matej. Matej, very nice to meet you.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks for the invitation.
Good, you're welcome. So Matej, who are you?
So I'm Matej Guit. My background is from computer science. My PhD is from artificial intelligence. I'm a researcher. I'm a manager. I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Curious person.
Okay. And a researcher in what?
Researcher in the field of artificial intelligence since 2005.
Okay, so that's key. All right. Okay, good. Keep that in mind. Now, as a speaker, you have to bring a beer and you have to tell us about that beer in less than 30 seconds. So which beer did you bring?
Okay, so my beer is, as you see, out of China. It's actually a Slovenian beer from a small town called Ajdovščina. But since nobody can really pronounce that name, especially the tourists, this out of China was like, they say, out of China. So out of China was like the closest approximation. And it's a red beer. It's a Slovenian crafted beer. Good beer.
Good.
I'll open it right now.
Good. Is it a cure for COVID?
Is it?
A cure for COVID? A cure?
No idea. I guess we have to pay attention. But Slovenia is doing well COVID-wise. So, and our team was already well prepared. I'll tell you later.
All right. Now, okay. What does your product do? What's your suppose if you were trying to explain it to your grandmother or your mom, what your product does, what does it do?
Okay, I'll try to explain to this audience. So InstaText is based on the observation that clear and effective written communication is the key to personal success. And using artificial intelligence and language technologies, we can take written communication to a whole new level. And unlike grammar checkers like Grammarly, which focus on grammatical improvement, InstaText not only corrects grammatical errors, but also enriches the content, making it more readable and understandable. And at this point, I would, Frank, would you please enable me sharing?
Oh, sure, of course. I can do that.
I will share you a screen with InstaText. So let's take, not this slide, I'll come back.
No problem, take your time.
Yes, okay. So let's review what I just said. As you can imagine, Frank asked me present the product in 2 minutes. So I wrote something down. Yeah? My English is not that bad, but I'm not a native speaker. So we can see I put it into InstaText just before our meeting, and here's the slide. Yeah, I forgot one. It's the observation. Then not bring the written communication to, but take it to the new level, and not the whole new level. Probably a whole new level is how a native speaker would do it. Yeah, and then you can see a part of the sentence was kind of just erased, like in a way, cut the bullshit, get to the point. Like it's said elsewhere. So we can see that now it really reads better and it's more understandable than it was before. And this is the idea behind the product. We actually have like users from more than 50 countries, 54 when I checked last time, probably it's more now, and from customers from 10 countries in European Union, and that's merely 4 or 5 months after the start.
Okay. So I can imagine if you have English as a second language, or you're not confident and want to check your English, it comes in very handy. So how do you differ than the competition?
Well, on a scale from, let's say, spell checkers, if we imagine spell checkers on the left-hand side and grammar checkers in between, InstaText is on the other side of the spectrum, generating far more ideas and more in-depth ideas than anything else. Yeah?
Okay, so your focus is on suggesting alternative ways of expressing what you want to express.
Yes, and also like rewriting the whole sentences, not just particular words, but it's supposed to, yes.
All right. Okay, good, good. Now, I was in Ljubljana about 8 months ago. I was with Igor, who's the president of PMI in Slovenia. And we were out in a restaurant and we were a bit tipsy. And he said, let's go along to this event and for entrepreneurs in Slovenia.
And I met you there just on the way out.
my first question was it beer? He said, sure, there'll be free beer. And we walked in and you were the first guy that I met. You handed me your card. We had a brief chat, and since then we have been in touch. So that's where it came from. So thank you. Now, tell me about how the idea started and what was your first deliverable where you thought that, hey, this could be useful.
Okay, so as a researcher for more than 10 years, I was writing papers, project proposals, and so on. And when you are not a native speaker, you're not as efficient as you could be. And there was always a missing tool for non-native speakers to be faster, more effective, more efficient with their English. And it was impossible to find such a tool.
Okay, all right. So that was your background, and you knew well.
Basically, you would like to. Sometimes you proofread your papers or your work or whatever. You may write a book or something, and but you would need a proofreader all the time, interactively, not just at the end. Then your work would converge to a completely different level. That's the idea.
But of course, okay, it's an idea, but lots of ideas don't work because there's no business case for it, or there's no point in creating something that people are not going to use it, and then it has to work correctly. So when did you feel that you were on the right track and this thing might pay for itself and it could take off? Actually, give me a timeline.
Yes, I guess from the perspective of the timeline and also from the perspective of project manager, it's important to understand that I was involved in my previous startup before, which was a successful startup at the end. 2005, it started. Before I actually graduated, I was a CEO of a startup. And then in 2009, I became a sole owner. I went also to the MBA in Bled, a very good school. And then I learned about customer perceived value. We changed a lot of things completely. And when there was a crisis, a big economic crisis, we actually had a very high growth for a few years consecutive. And that gave us money, time, and other resources like knowledge and contacts, knowing the right persons before this startup started. Okay. That was in 2015, yeah, like 10 years later, I was able to switch off a little bit, go to my company and study new technologies that emerged with deep learning and so on for about 8 months. And then I became a chief science officer at some corporation for two years and a half. And about that time, AlphaZero idea emerged. And then I quit once again and started to explore this new technology. And then it kind of felt that this could really take off. And well, that was the time also approximately when I invited my friend and co-founder Markus Hasler from Austria as a language technology expert, presented him this idea, and then in 2018, in the summer, we started to work on it. In the fall, I would say in September, we engaged Sasho, who was the web programmer for the previous company. And the previous company was also a software as a service, but on a smaller scale, just in Slovenia. Okay, so 2018 would say is the answer.
How did you fund? So you started working on the idea while you were in the other company. Yeah, is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
So how did you fund the first year? Because you had to convince this person from Austria. That's Austria without the kangaroos. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Good.
Actually, it was Avior, the previous company that had some extra resources to invest into this project. And now Avior is also a early investor or co-owner of the new company. So it was a smart investment. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, but also it's important to also to think that all the team from Avior, which is, you know, Avior was in the meantime scaled to say to 0 employees. It became a profitable company, and all the processes were completely automated. Sometimes
Sorry.
I'm okay. Yes.
This Avier is like an incubator, then, is it? Who funds you and looks after you and
In this case, yes, yes, it's the first startup, and actually starting from scratch goes way back to 2005, I would say, now thinking back.
Okay, good, good. Now, how did you prioritize the requirements from a project management point of view? How did you decide to scope it, what to leave in, what to leave out, to get what we call the minimal viable product, to see would it actually work and what people expect it? How did that go?
Yeah.
Was it easy or was it difficult?
Well, the first versions were in command line, which you can imagine it's very inconvenient. We needed some kind of a diff tool that would enable a comparison of a old and new version in a very like transparent way, and that was Sasho's task, the guy who we involved and paid from Avior's sources for the website, and his approximate his estimate was I'm going to need like 2 months. Yeah, div tools should be available on online and so on, and after half a year, of course, we still didn't have this website. But okay, we had some versions that we could at least internally work with.
Okay.
Yes.
But that's just the user interface. It's not the main technology, the AI part. I mean, that's the stuff you were creating.
Of course, yes. The AI was developed to quite decent stage at that time in 2018. So
Okay.
it was, yes, yes. So actually it needed to be like improved with language technologies in order to kind of language technologies now correct mistakes of the AI, because AI, as you saw in the example, this sometimes just, you know, gives too many ideas, perhaps, or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Then we establish a pipeline and so on. And it was interesting, you know, it was important as a leader to inspire people. It came just, I don't know, out of some meeting that we still meet with previous co-founders of Avior. Every year, and some of these friends of mine was so encouraged that he started to develop the backend by himself, because he believed at some point of time you will need this. And
Wow.
actually we invited him as a co-founder later when we founded the company.
That's pretty good. Okay. What has been your biggest challenges so far, let's say, in the project? Where did you think, like, where were you losing sleep?
Yeah, well, in different phases, different challenges. I would say I was learning all the time. I kind of really take all these online classes or books to study the latest things that are going on from project management, from startup management, and so on. One of the challenges was, of course, to find the product market fit. But
Yeah.
it's not only that. Usually people, especially in the software as a service business, it's not only about product market fit. And I will show you a picture here that illustrates
Okay.
from the slides in order to understand better what I have in mind. So we have to have a fit between market and the product. Okay, but it's not enough, and it's not even a binary thing. It could be that you have many potential markets, but some may be more profitable, and only with the most profitable ones you will survive as a startup. So the real problem that should be solved should come from the market, but then you have to find the right channel. And okay, obviously, having a website is viable for us, but everyone thought this is going to be a B2C product. But no, we, as a previous startup, we were into B2B business, so we wanted to somehow make it B2B. And then I involved a sales guy from the previous startup with this new product, and that actually came in 2019 in October. So 1 year later, approximately after we started developing a website, I engaged the sales guy who was doing kind of market research, but everything he sells the whole year in advance, it's his. Except that in 3 months, he basically didn't sell anything. That was the problem. But the good thing is that we learned a lot, and he learned a lot, and now he's, after half a year, he has a great salary actually, and he's working only on InstaText now. What we had to learn. Yeah, it was important to have these mentors and coaches. At some point, our mentor, Matej told us focus only on one segment. And then we focused only on academics because we knew that there's a market. We started from this market actually, not from the product. And that's how it became B2B. And actually later in 2020, just in February and March, we were able to sell 30,000 euros and more licenses. And in December, just 2 months before, they were asking me, how many licenses did you sell? And I was proud to say 4. It wasn't a problem for me because at that point, we actually maximized learning. And only later. And about the model, of course, it was important to find the right model. We choose subscription model with some free trial. Everyone gets 20,000 characters. And then at some point, we also changed to different tiers, like one is a starter, one is for standard, and one professional with different amount of characters. And we introduced only yearly licenses, and it turned out that credit cards were really not important in B2B segments. It was important. Okay, yes.
I see. So give me an example of some of the users then. So you said you went for the academia market. Is that what you said?
Yes. It could be that there are particular individuals, it could be laboratories, it could be the whole departments, or it could be a faculty. And now we are also preparing packages for the whole universities at some point. So that was the idea, yeah. If you want to sell the product in particular channel, it's important to know the price. And the price is actually quite low. It's 88, approximately, less than 100 euros per year, per user, which wouldn't allow B2B sales. But at the same time, we can sell 100 licenses at once to a faculty or more, and that makes it viable for B2B.
Okay, all right, that's great, that's good. I understand, it's a good model. And I also find it surprising that you actually decided that at the beginning, because my first impression of it was a business to consumer product. So, but business to business model was obviously the best way to go. So that's
yes, that's why we were searching for an opportunity. And actually, I think in academia, it was much, we found the best product market fit here, because selling to, content marketers or translators and so on. Our first customers was a translator, but we didn't understand these people. and we didn't understand what they need. Now we do understand more about them. They actually use their software, but use InstaText just to get ideas. But in academia, Robbie noticed that people are willing to talk to him, and so on. And we were able to organize live events, and it spread faster than Corona. I had to use this metaphor.
That's good. That's good. All right. So how are things now, actually? How is, from a project management point of view, how do you manage your work, and how big of a team do you have, for example?
Mm-hmm. Well, the team was very well prepared for the Corona crisis. Actually, we have an office in Ljubljana that serves only as a hub.
Okay.
30 square meter, it's in the middle of Technology Park, and like Marcus comes here once per week, but not now during this crisis. But basically we meet whenever we have to, or else we meet once per week via Zoom. Then we use these new technologies, collaboration tools like Trello, Slack, Confluence, and other tools. It was important to take the load off a front-end programmer because he has always too much to do. So I had to study myself how to implement marketing automation, and it turned out that there is a great software for that. So actually, it was one of the important aspects, how to engage the users with automatic educational emails once they sign up. Then what else is important? Well, at some point, we actually focused on getting a lot of customers. And then in the past 2-3 months, we came to from 2,000 users to 5,500, just checked. Yeah. So you can basically focus just on one aspect at a time. You can focus on learning, focus on growing, or focus on costs. That's one advice. Another important thing that happened in the past year was these mentorships. It's amazing how much you can learn from a single meeting and how it can change the course of events. We actually didn't have a product that we could really sell in October, November, December. We were just learning with these early users. And one interesting point given by Matt Mayfield was you can compete only in one thing of the following: the price, the product, integration, or UX, so user experience. So 4.
How did you introduce that point? So you can only compete with one of the following. Is that what you said?
Yes, one of the following.
That would be those again.
Price,
yeah,
product, integration, or user experience.
Okay.
These are 4 possibilities. And okay, we cannot compete on price because people perceive us as in the same market as Grammarly. That's writing enhancement market. It's a 4 billion market with 6% compound annual growth rate. It's a good market. But we have kind of a unicorn on this market. And also the product is quite different. People, once they start to use it, they notice it's completely different. We are still kind of perceived that way. So there are cheaper versions of Grammarly. It's not a way to go. Then integration. We don't have enough people to do that. We are not strong team programmatically. We actually, everyone in the team is kind of part-time. That's the way how to finance it. And then I realized, why are we inventing our own user experience? And it turned out that actually we should copy user experience from established tools like Google Translate or Google Docs or MS Word with those track changes possibilities.
Yes.
And once we understood that, the product became completely different. And in January 2020, people started to understand it and to appreciate it. Wow. And then only we were able to sell. but it came from a piece of advice that doesn't have to do anything with, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's very good. Thanks for mentioning that. I didn't hear those 4 points laid out like that. Natalie has asked a question, and if other people have questions, please put them in the chat. This is a question from Natalie. How have you identified your collaborators? So the people who you work with, how did you bring them into the team? And how did you know they were the right ones? You know, so you didn't screw up your
Yeah,
team.
that's why I'm saying that understanding this history is very important, because all the team actually, except Marcus, who was invited from Austria, as an expert, everyone was a part of the team in the previous company at some point. At
Yeah.
some point, yes. So in 2013, Sasha created our website. In 2007, Gregor was developing this fax via email service, and in 2013, he helped me to put it into the cloud. Then there was Sandra for administration. Then there was, Robbie for sales, and so on. Yeah. So that's these people just waited for new project to emerge, and I knew who to contact.
Okay. You mentioned a software that you use for marketing, for email marketing. What was the name of that software that you found?
It's Autopilot HQ.
Autopilot.
And I highly recommend it, because you don't need to have any programmatic knowledge.
Yeah.
It's just about like combining Lego dices. It's all I need from Sasha, the front end, actually from the database. I need a CSV export that is tailored exactly for this software, and I do it myself still every evening. I export the users, I import them into Autopilot. We will automate it one day, but we always work like that. We do it manually until we cannot do it anymore manually. Then we automate it.
You just said you were not very good at integration, so maybe it'll take you a while.
Yeah, the point is that we never have time. It's it's too many priorities.
These meetings that you have every Friday online, can you tell me how they are structured and how the structure of those meetings has changed over time?
Yeah, actually, it is something that we started with this Corona crisis, so that to stay connected via Zoom, and it is similar to Scrum meetings that I like, these daily stand-up meetings that I learned as a chief scientist at this corporation. But of course, daily would be too frequently. So we do it weekly, but for 1 hour. So everyone has a chance to tell what's going on, what's important. We have to align the priorities, and it turns out that it's often great.
Okay, so you keep it to 1 hour. That's your time goal.
That's the idea. Well, for the first time when we had it, we had so much to say that it lasted 2 hours and a half, and we said we have to cut it down somehow. And then we take a look. 1 hour. Okay, we should stop now. Yes.
Yeah. That's it. I see some meetings going away about that.
Yes.
And does everybody? So, what do people say? I mean, it sounds like a very agile approach where people say what they've just done and what they're going to work on before the next meeting. Is that correct? And any obstacles that are in the way? Is that how you
yes. Basically, I start to tell what's going on and like a review of the week, and also what I'm doing. And then I invite everyone to tell that. And then we actually, in the second part of the meeting, we focus on things that it's good to discuss live. So what needs to be done, because it turns out that everyone has ideas and valuable input and so on. Yes.
Who decides on the next features? Who prioritizes the next functionality that's going to be created?
Basically, it is me who is this benevolent dictator. Yeah.
Okay, So you what we call the product owner then, the requirement.
I'm very much in contact with Robbie, who's in sales. So he gives me a lot of feedback from users, and I also obtain a lot of feedback from users, and I also use it myself a lot. Or in pairs, currently I'm helping my friend with a book and so on. So I'm kind of getting this first-hand experience from other users.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, I've been using it for a while as well. I haven't given you any feedback just to say that it's great. So that was
Nice.
good because I'm dyslexic myself. So it comes in very handy. If I'm sending an email, I just copy it and put it in. So for me, it's very, very helpful.
So what would you say is the most important feature that is missing?
I don't know. The way I use it at the moment, it fits me fine. I mean, in our company, we create vast amount of questions for Q&A, like for project management. So I would like to be able to upload pages of information, upload a complete document. I mean, that would be interesting. But we can have a chat about this in the future. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Because the other feature that I hear most often is one of the priorities now is personalized dictionaries. We want as authors of our text, we have some expert words that shouldn't change and so on. And this happens in academia, but and this is the #1 feature that they need. And this is how it happens when you kind of develop for a particular market, then the product kind of converges in that way. Okay.
Yeah, I don't always accept your suggestions, but your suggestions are very good because it does help me write better, you know. So let's see, I wrote in, I put in 200 words. Let's say 70% I can use immediately, and the other 30% I kind of go back in again and change based on your suggestions.
I can show you another. It's my last slide. I mean, I didn't want to prepare too many slides, but this one is from understanding of planning the features.
Yes.
So I'm going back to that screen, and it's this one. It's about automizing growth. I will try to explain this picture. So when new users came, when new users come to the system, when they register, and we have a great conversion rate, they started to use the tool after they confirmed the email. And now there is an important, the motivation is clear here. They want to improve their text. Yeah. Now an important point here is this variable reward. It could be like social to feel important or accepted, or a resource that you acquire some info, like in this case, or mastery, like self-accomplishment. InstaText has a bit of everything here. We want to look better with our written English, so it has this social impact and resource. Yeah, we want to have better text. That's why we are here in the first place. And also we want to improve our text, and we want to improve ourselves. So it's sort of this mastery notion, and this helps this retention, stickiness, and engagement. And this is already there. Then I'll jump to trigger.
Yeah.
Trigger could be paid or earned, or it could be paid is when you actually use advertising to keep people reminding of your service. Earned is when they kind of virally spread it. Their relationship is when they recommend it, or it could be owned. We own a little bit of this external triggers by automatic emails that are really well thought for different segments, so that at different time in their customer journey, they receive different content. But what is important here is investment. If people would invest in the use of the tool, then they will likely stay with it. And actually, we developed a lot of things lately to educate them, like educational video and educational animation on a how-to page, or a start tour that everyone who comes on board starts a tour with exact steps in order to learn. So when you also learn new skills, you are likely to spend more time with the product later. But from the term of planning, if we add personalization here, so that people will build their personalized dictionaries, we believe it will be likely that they will be hooked and stay with the product. And what's another feature that is missing here is output. How would I achieve that people share this outside the current ecosystem? So it could be referrals, and that's another thing that I'm studying now. Like I did this autopilot, I'm studying now the software for referrals. And another one is like sharing possibilities, like download a Word document with track changes or other collaboration like Google Docs and so on. Yeah. This is what I wanted to tell from the perspective of planning.
Sharing is an interesting idea. If you type in something and you want someone to say, okay, well, this is, you want to send it to somebody, it would be nice you can do it from within the tool. Maybe you can, but then that will bring another person to the platform. So that's good. Okay, so you have...
is there any question about this slide, or can I close it?
I just say, I'm just waiting for other people are just saying thank you. I'll just read some of the comments. So Michelle from the US, she really thinks there's a huge market for you with all the Indian companies who were doing business in the US because they need maybe a little bit of help with English. So companies like Infosys and Tata and so had the consulting.
Exactly, and we actually believe that this software could be, in the service, could be useful not only for non-native speakers. Actually, we turned from one slogan, we tested it online, write like a native speaker, then we turned it to write better English. And
yeah, that's true. Because I'm a native speaker and my English is not very good. So okay, so the question from Matej again. Back from Katrina, is there anything you would do differently knowing what you know now? So what mistakes have you made? And if you were to go back and repeat, what shortcuts could you have taken? What shortcuts would you take? It's a good question.
Well, once you know what you know now, of course, it seems obvious that you could do everything faster and put more money and so on. But from the research with entrepreneurs, it transpired that when they asked them what would happen if you received funding earlier, and the majority, the most common answer was we would probably go bankrupt because we would build something wrong. So this is a process. It took time. Yes, so I don't regret anything, but of course, you never know. I showed those 4 components, market, product, channel, and model. You never know. It's not binary. You can have 4 fits, but maybe you don't have an optimal fit. So we are looking for the best fits. And once you have all 4 fits in place, then I was told that this is going to be like $100 million business, but you have to have all 4 fits in line.
Yeah. Okay. I've got one more question, and then I want to touch on the prize that you got. Okay. So Natalie has another question as well, which is a nice question. Have you considered to do some research on the improvement of the level of English by the users? So you can see, is their English getting better because they are using the software? That's pretty good.
Somebody just commented 2 days ago on Facebook because I gave an interview for a local scientific paper, I mean newspaper, and there were lots of responses. And somebody commented that he actually noticed that there are 50% less improvements, and he used it a lot because he's writing a very popular book, second edition, which was translated to many languages, and that now 50% less suggestions he receives because his English improved.
Wow.
And also that sometimes he receives no improvement, which really makes him feel great.
That's good. Like
But that's a side product, and that's exactly, if we were going into that direction, like building an educational software, which we could, it would be a completely different product and different market.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not our focus, but it's a side effect. We notice that.
So actually, I said two things a second ago, but two things again now. So all the people who are listening can go on to the website, InstaText.io, and they can sign up and they can start using it without paying to try it out. Isn't that correct?
Yes, yes. Okay, I will show what you just said. It's InstaText.io. Everyone can try for free. 20,000 characters. Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Great. And now that you, I seen on LinkedIn that you got the prize for the startup of the year in Slovenia, and I think you have that with you, so you can show it on
okay.
You're still sharing your okay, great, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the trophy we got, startup of the year. Yes, in Slovenia.
Okay.
It was a tough competition.
Yeah.
But we are proud of that. Yes.
That's great. Great.
Especially because some companies, at least one, had already $1 million of investment, something like that. But we still managed to convince that we are on the better path.
All right, great. Okay, Matej, that was brilliant. Thank you for joining, and I wish you lots of success. Perhaps we can do it again in the future, and we'll even ask more questions.
Welcome to Slovenia, everyone. I hope this crisis ends and then we meet again. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.